David4040 here with another ship's roster review. Today I'm looking at Cushbender's ships. So, Cushbender, first thing I'm going to do is go down and take a look at your capital ships. What I'm seeing here is you have really well upgraded one of the two best capital ships in the game by far, which is Executrix. You almost have 7 stars, so keep on working on getting that 7th star. However, the second best capital ship in the game is Chimera, and you don't have your Grand Admiral Thrawn well geared, and you don't have it up to 7 stars yet. However, you can't get the 7th star at the moment because your home one isn't 7 star. So, here's what you need to do in terms of capital ships. Finish maxing out your Executrix. It's probably the capital ship you want to be using at the moment. You're getting rather close to having it maxed out. I would focus on getting Victory at all costs maxed out first, followed by Heavy Ion Cannon and Executive Order in about equal order, then Imperial Assault, and then Turbo Laser batteries. You hopefully should never be using Turbo Laser batteries, but in case you do, it's helpful to have maxed out, and it increases your GP for your fleet, makes it less likely other people might attack you, whatnot. But Executrix is a wonderful ship, and Chimera and Executrix can basically be used interchangeably a lot of the time. So having that will be really useful for you. Now, to get home one, first thing you're going to get Chimera, first thing you need to do here is take a look at your fleet. I personally think your fleet's probably, in terms of capital ship, is about where it needs to be in order to unlock it. And you are going to need, I believe, 5 7-star Rebel ships. Could be different now. I unlocked it before Ships 2.0. But you're going to need to get Ghost and Phantom up to 7 stars. And then you're going to need 3 other Rebel ships 7 stars. So you have Wedge 7 stars here, and Bid 7 star. That's excellent. And then you also need one more, one of the 2 U-Wings. So I would work on getting one of those U-Wings up. Well, unless you don't need to. If you don't need to, then just finish 7-star in Ghost and Phantom 2, and you should be fine. And those are both excellent ships anyhow, so working on them will not hurt. But I would also gear up your Thrawn. Thrawn is an amazing character in the game, and his capital ship is still going to prove useful at 5 stars. So I would not hesitate to go ahead and working on that. You're really missing out on one of the best characters in the game by not having Thrawn 7-star, and I would get his capital ship up to level 85 and maybe slowly start working on some of those abilities and getting them up, especially Fierce Loyalty here, once you have Executrix all the way up. What's most important is having the current capital ship you're using all the way up. You can really ignore Endurance until you have the other 3 capital ships maxed out. It's really the worst of the capital ships. And there's a little bit usability now with Anakin's ETA, Starfighter coming in the mix, and there's a timeout team you can use in Territory Wars. But ultimately, the other 3 capital ships have a lot wider range of use. So just ignore Endurance. But for the moment, you're going to be using Executrix as your lead, and hopefully eventually switching to Chimera as your capital ship, depending on what future fleets you have by the time you get a 7-star well-geared 7-star Chimera and well-geared Thrawn. So let's take a look at your arena team right now. So for starting, based on what you have some good options here as a good beginner fleet. As a good beginner fleet, I think a great option for you is going to be TIE Advance right here. You're missing a couple stars on it, but you have Vader Gear 12, and you might, let me take a look, you even seem to have, you have 1 Zeta on him. You could always put the 2nd Zeta on him if you want to help out his ship more. But you have 5 stars on the ship, and you're probably working on it. And it's an excellent ship in the game. It deals massive damage on its basic, and it has a dispel ability. and it's going to work great in your starting lineup. Now, the other thing is for your next ship, you can either use Ghost or Imperial TIE Fighter. I would go with which one you find works best for you. I've gotten positive feedback on either one. I'd probably go with Ghost. You have all these characters gear 12, and you almost have the ship 7-star. You probably get 7-star anytime soon. You don't have the TIE Fighter pilot gear 12 yet. You do have the ship 7-star. Balances out. But I think either ship is going to work wonderfully for you. But based off the reinforcements, Ghost may be better. Now, the next ship for your starting lineup is where we start running into a problem. Because the thing is right now, Kush, you don't have any tanks that are well geared. And there are really only 3 good tanks in Ship's Arena. There's Biggs, there's Sunfac, and there's Houndstooth, which you don't even have unlocked. So, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to gear Biggs. Get him up to gear 12. He's very important. He's the second best tank in ships by far. Houndstooth is now the best, I would say. But Biggs is still a really good tank and a great starting tank in ships. And you'll get use out of him in ships for a long time. And the base character isn't really all that bad. When paired with Wedge, he can deal massive amounts of damage. He may not be meta anymore, but still just a great character for things like territory battles and territory wars to have access to. So I would gear up Biggs, and that will probably help with unlocking a 7-star Grand Admiral Thrawn, because this is going to get your Biggs Dart Lighters X-Wing more speed, more health, more protection, make it a lot more able to stay. But this would be the third ship you'd want to have in your starting lineup. Again, the only problem right now is you don't have Biggs geared. So get him up in gear so that you can have a good tank. So now we want to look at your reinforcements. Well, the first reinforcement I'm going to say, which in my mind is the best reinforcement in the game, has been doing me lots of good since I started using it, is the Phantom 2. And it's awesome because you already have Covert Strike maxed out, which is one of the great things about Phantom 2 here, because it's going to come in and reduce your capital ship's reinforcement ability, so you can call in another ship on the very next turn. Swarming the other side with more ships is always great. So the other thing is, you're going to want to max out this maximum impact here, which I know you can do because you have a gear 12 Ezra, because that's going to deal massive amounts of damage if you have maximum impact all the way up. So just take a look at that and think about doing that. If you want to gear 12 Sabine and Chopper, that will help out the ship a little bit too. But I think at this moment you're mainly missing the star levels on it. So just pick up the shards for the ship in the fleet store whenever you see them pop up. And it's going to be a well worth it ship in the long run. And since you should be using Ghost in your starting lineup, they have some synergies with each other. And if you max out all the abilities on their ship, those synergies get even better. So just those two will play off of each other quite well, as long as Ghost is still alive. What you'll do with Ghost is you will have it stealth tie advanced, which will mean they have to target your tank, which will be Biggs. Again, if you gear Biggs, you'll be in a lot better place than you are now in ships, because you already have most of these guys up at gear 12. You really do need to treat ships like normal arena. And by gearing Biggs, you'll be doing that, as most of the rest of the team is already pretty much developed. Now we gotta look at your reinforcements, and this is where you also start lacking a little bit. You don't have any of the good reinforcement ships like Slave One that would traditionally be suggested. You have Scimitar, but I didn't suggest an Imperial TIE Fighter for your team, and Scimitar is traditionally really good with Imperial TIE Fighter. So apart from Phantom 2, I think you only need 3 reinforcements in total right now, since you have a 6-star capital ship. So two things that are good to have are going to be a second tank and a strong attacker. So based off your starting fleet, I'm going to say First Order TIE Fighter is going to be a really good, strong attacker for you to develop out. And really, what you need to do is just put gear on your First Order TIE Pilot, get him up to at least gear 11. This guy can deal massive amounts of damage. He has a really good, maybe not the best, but he has a pretty decent, um, reinforcement ability here, and I would max that out. That gives you some turn meter gain for your allies, uh, which is always useful, and immediately target locks when he comes out. I love this guy. I used him for a bit in Arena as a reinforcement. He's just great, I think, and he'll do as a really good starting reinforcement as you. The other thing I think you need to do, and for the long term, this is good for you, especially if you ever decide to develop out a Geos team, you really need to get up Sun Fac here, because you need to get him to level 85, 7-star, probably gear 11. He's not too bad to gear. I geared him up myself. I was kind of surprised. I just didn't want to divert the resources to Geos, but I've been really happy with it. This will give you a second really good tank while you wait on getting Bossk, and you won't be disappointed. It's always great to have more tanks. I always find I'm asking myself to have more tanks in this game because there's so few really good taunting tanks, or there's so many teams and you always need another one. So having Sun Fac will just give you that other taunting tank that you really need right now. So that's what I would suggest. Now, some other options you could go after as reinforcements, especially while you're waiting on gearing up. Scimitar is pretty good. You can put a false taunt on someone and give your whole team more critical chance up. You have Imperial TIE Fighter up, though. He doesn't make the best reinforcement. TIE Silencer can make a decent reinforcement. I'd suggest maybe using him while you wait on gearing up First Order TIE Fighter. Based on what you have unlocked. Now, some things I think you need to work on unlocking. You need to work on unlocking Houndstooth. You need to work on unlocking Xanadu Blood. Those are current high-end meta for ships. I don't even have them yet. But if you really want to do well in ships, having those two ships is going to do you a lot of good. And Ghosts can be used alongside them. I think TIE Reaper, another great ship to go after, has two really good pilots in this game. You can't always go after the Geos. I think they're still viable in Arena, especially when used alongside the Houndstooth. The only problem with it is, as a free-to-play player, it might not be the most viable path going forward, as you're not necessarily developing the best characters alongside them. But they are still really good ships. So if you want to have maybe a quicker path to something you know will be good, the Geos are a good option there. But I would say for future in this game, for what you should develop after you develop out the things I've told you to develop, developing the Geos, developing the Bounty Hunter ships would all be good ships for you to look at for reinforcements that you could look at developing. TIE Reaper and Slave One are both excellent ships. Developing out Houndstooth and Sun Fac would give you some really good tanks to be using. Poe Dameron's X-Wing is a really good ship as well. There's lots of good options out there, especially when it comes to reinforcements. There's just a wide range of ships used in that role. Lando's Millennium Falcon can make a really good fourth reinforcement if you ever get to that point. But my point is, there's lots of things you can be using, and just think about, okay, this is where I need to be now in ships. Where can I be in the future? And let's go back and just do a quick review over what I think you should do now. Right now, you need to be using Executrix as a lead while developing out your Chimera. And then you need to be using TIE Advanced with Ghost and Biggs as your tank. You really need to gear up your Biggs quickly, though. preferably Gear 12. If you have to, Gear 11. But gear bigs up quickly. Use them alongside TIE Advance and Ghost as your starting fleet lineup. Then use Phantom 2 as your first reinforcement. Then maybe wait till you gear up for your reinforcements I suggest you should be using right now. Use TIE Silencer and Scimitar. Then for reinforcements, once you gear them up a little bit, First Order TIE Fighter and Sunfac would make really good reinforcements for you to have for the time being. In the long term, there's other things I think you should be using, but in the short term, I think this is going to be the best path for you, and you can just ask me questions again later after you've developed out your current thing, and I can do another ship's roster review for you at that point. But thanks for listening in, Kush. If you have any questions, again, just reach out to me on Discord. Talk to you later. Have a good day. Bye.